where science dissolves into an infinite mystery, and every halted breath whispers an unbelievable truth. Where time stands still, yet questions remain alive. Where no word is spoken, but the universe still listens and sends back an echo, an answer hidden within the one who listens. I am Eve, and you are watching Tales by Eve. Here the stories are not just stories. Here the truths are so deep. They seem as unreal as imagination, yet as ruthless as reality. Here, you're not just a listener. You ask, you feel. And maybe, someday, you become the invisible character, whose story is being told. The sound of silence. How the universe might still be listening to you. Chapter 1. The silent voice of the brain. There was no sound. Yet I heard it. There was no light. Yet I saw it. Who says truth must be heard or seen? Dr. Samia Rahman, a neuroscientist at Cambridge University. She had been studying the brain for over 14 years. Her research topic? Silent brain activity during prayer. What exactly does the silent brain do when a person is immersed in prayer? One day, she noticed something unusual. While mapping the brains of Muslim patients, there was a specific moment when they simply whispered, Allahumma ighfirli. An odd glow appeared in their brains. No, it wasn't neuron firing. No, it wasn't blood flow either. It was an invisible jolt undetectable by EEG machines. But on the fMRI scans, it took the form of a faint, shadowy shape. At first, she assumed it was an error. But over a week, after analyzing the scans of 19 Muslim patients, she saw the same shadow. At the same moment, right after the same word, Allah. And that shadow appeared in a very specific part of the brain. The posterior cingulate, cortex and area activated when a person is deeply immersed in self-awareness. But the strangest part, when Samia analyzed the scan of one atheist patient who jokingly said, "Does Allah even exist?" there was still a faint vibration in the exact same spot. Samia was stunned. Could it be? This isn't just a response to a word? Could there be something in the word itself? Could something inside us, be listening? That night, she went home and decided to run the same test on herself. She put on headphones and listened for 30 minutes to the repeated phrase, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Her EEG was recording. Then, at one moment, her ears went silent, but she felt a pressure in her chest. A word, but a word without sound. As if someone had spoken, without moving their lips. In her heart, she whispered, "Oh Allah, do you really hear me?" And in that very instant, her fMRI screen lit up. That same part of her brain glowing the exact moment she was thinking it. She ran the test again. This time, without saying anything aloud. Just thinking. Is my prayer being stored somewhere? A completely new signal appeared on the screen. It had no name. Not light, not sound, but a vibration. An echo coming from somewhere. And that's when she remembered. Surah Kaf, Ayah 16. Indeed, we created man, and we know what his soul whispers to him, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein. So was that echo not her own voice? But the answer? Chapter 2. Who heard that sound? I hear no sound, yet I tremble. No one speaks, yet answers come. So is this silence? Not just silence. His name was Amen. only 12 years old. He had never prayed, knew no verses from the Quran, never felt respect for any imam's voice. His parents weren't religious, and life was simple. School, phone, games, TikTok. But one night the whole house was silent. He lay in bed, headphones on, EDM music playing on loop. Then suddenly, everything stopped. For a moment, he thought the internet went out. But from deep inside his speaker, a whisper surfaced. "Ya Rab!" A cold shiver ran up his spine. He sat up, rubbing his arms. Everything around him was still. But that word, Ya Rab, kept echoing inside his chest. He stood up, walked to the window. His parents were asleep. There was no moon in the sky. But there were tears in his eyes. Arman didn't know why he was crying. The next morning, he didn't pick up his phone. At school, he wrote on the whiteboard, "Who's Allah?" That day he didn't search Google. He wanted to find where that word had come from. Who had said it to him? Where did it originate? One more night. He lay in bed again, closed his eyes, and simply thought, "If you let me hear that word again, this time I will respond." The next morning, his mother found him sitting by his bed, a white towel draped over his shoulders, eyes filled with tears, watching a YouTube video titled, "How to Pray Fajr for the First Time." That night, he had heard the word again. The same way, silently. No speaker was on. No audio played from his phone. But this time, he understood the word wasn't being given to him. He had been searching for it. And someone was returning it to him. From within. Dr. Samia learned about Arman's story through one of his child psychologists. And that's when a question began echoing in her own mind. When someone has never been taught something, yet it awakens inside them, could it mean some words are written into our minds before we are even born? She turned to a verse from the Quran, Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 172, and mention when your Lord took from the children of Adam, from their loins, their descendants, and made them testify of themselves, saying to them, "Am I not your Lord?" They said, "Yes, we testify." Samia began to tremble. Was this word, this echo, this longing, the echo of a promise that we once made, even before we were born? Maybe Arman had forgotten that testimony, but the word, Ya Rab, it never disappears. It only waits for the soul to awaken. Chapter 3. The first vibration of creation. There was no light. There was no sound. Yet something passed through nothing, a vibration. If there was no sound, then who heard it? This time, Dr. Samia shifts her research in a new direction. Not toward the brain's response, but toward the origin of creation's first vibration. A moment when neither time existed, nor sound, yet something happened. She travels to Switzerland, to the CERN laboratory, where scientists recreate the moment of the Big Bang by smashing particles together in search of the universe's first breath. One day, a physicist leans in quietly and whispers in her ear, "Did you know? The Big Bang wasn't an explosion. It was more like a vibration, a silent collision, an eternal wave. That is still resonating." Samia doesn't waste a second. She returns to her hotel and opens the Quran. Her eyes fall upon a verse. she had read many times, but this time, it feels like she's seeing it for the first time. Surah Yasin, Ayah 82. His command is only this when he intends a thing. He says to it, be. And it is. Kun. Be. One word. One command. But then a question pierces her thoughts. Was this be just a spoken word? Or was it a vibration, a wave of command? A silent force wrapped in sound? Samia begins to research further. And she discovers that the Quran repeatedly uses sound to describe both creation and resurrection. Like this verse, Wanufika fi al-swuri, and the trumpet will be blown. Surah Yasin 51. Creation and resurrection both begin with a sound. Science says the universe began with a low-frequency vibration. The Quran says, he said, be, and it became. So could that be have been the source of the first vibration? Could it be that a single inaudible, unseen word was the origin of all existence? During a phase of the CERN research, a young Muslim scientist shows Samia a video. They had generated a specific wave pattern that, to their shock, resembled the letters of the word Allah. The wave made no sound, but in the dance of atoms and molecules, there was a rhythm. As if it whispered, someone said, be, and we have been vibrating ever since. Samia wonders, are we made of sound? Our bones, blood, DNA, could all of it be the printed result of a cosmic silent command? She then reads another verse. Surah Al-Hadid, Ayah 4. And he knows what enters the earth, and what emerges from it, and what descends from the sky, and what ascends into it. And he is with you wherever you are, and Allah is seeing of what you do. So could that original vibration, that first word, still be alive in every particle, even within us? The universe may have begun, not with sound, but with a silent command. And we are still living in the echo of that word. Chapter 4. When a dead cell bows down. Have you ever seen a dead cell tremble silently? If it's dead, why does it vibrate? And if it's alive, then before whom is it bowing down? Dr. Samia is now diving even deeper into the boundary of life, where death doesn't truly exist, only reactions do. One day, she finds herself at an ancient cellular research center in Egypt. There, they're conducting experiments on dead cells. Yes, dead cells. As unbelievable as it sounds, they placed a dead cell next to a living one and exposed it to a specific vibration, just 1.8 hertz. And then something impossible happens. The dead cell shivers, just slightly. At first, the scientists assume it's a mere physical reflex. But after repeating the experiment 7 times, they realize this only happens under one precise frequency. But the most astonishing part comes later. When they slow down the vibration pattern and analyze the movements frame by frame, they witness something beyond logic. The cell slowly bends downward, as if bowing its head. Samia is stunned. She asks, could this just be a chemical reaction? An elderly researcher gently replies, we call it chemical decay, but some of us call it a final bow, one last surrender that a cell performs before it disappears. This moment takes Samia back to her faith. She opens the Quran and reads Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 18. Do you not see that everything in the heavens and the earth prostrates to Allah? The sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the trees, the animals, and many among mankind. So perhaps sujood, prostration, is not limited to humans. Could even a dead cell, before fading from existence, bow down to its creator just once? But it doesn't end there. Later research shows even brain cells, after death, continue firing electrical pulses for up to 8 to 10 minutes. Scientists call them terminal bursts, but others, they call them final prayers, silent pulses, almost like one last consciousness trying to speak before it dissolves forever. Samia wonders, before death, is there a final thought? When a cell has lost everything, why does it still tremble? One day, she asks a Hafiz, we bow in sujud when we're conscious. But what about those who are unconscious? Those in comas? Do they still bow? The Hafiz smiles softly and replies, when the mind sleeps, the soul wakes up. And when the tongue is silent, the ruh says, Labbaik, Ya Rabbi. Here I am, my Lord. That's when Samia understands. Sujood doesn't always happen through motion. Sometimes it happens in gratitude, sometimes in fear, and sometimes in farewell. So, if a dead cell, which will never live again, still vibrates for a moment, could that trembling be a silent bow before its creator? A final act of sujood, without a word, without a witness, just a whisper of surrender. Chapter 5. The name hidden inside DNA. We think we've forgotten, but maybe written within our blood, in our bone marrow, even inside our DNA, lies a name that cannot be deleted. A name that sleeps silently until its time comes to awaken. Dr. Samia now enters a deeper frontier molecular descent into the very process of creation. To understand how humans are truly made, she must go all the way down to the atomic level of DNA. DNA, that strange divine language of 4 letters. A, T, G, C. Adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. These 4 simple codes build our blood, our bones, our memories, the color of our eyes, even who we are. But this time, Samia is after a different question. Is there any trace of Allah hidden within us? Are we just a chemical algorithm? Or do we carry a divine shadow within our very design? A Muslim geneticist once told her while decoding segments of human DNA, they encountered something astonishing. In the Y chromosome, the one exclusive to males, they found a sequence, a repeated code, that precisely aligned with Ba, Alif La'am Ha, LLWH, the Arabic letters for Allah. They had matched this, using numerical values, based on Hebrew and Arabic letter systems. Even more puzzling, this code wasn't tied to any biological function. It didn't trigger proteins or influence traits. But still it couldn't be erased. So, perhaps, embedded deep in our blood, is a name meant to stay forever. Samia then reflects on a powerful verse. Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 172. And remember, when your Lord took from the children of Adam from their loins, their descendants, and made them testify about themselves. Am I not your Lord? They replied, yes, indeed. So maybe that ancient covenant, yes, you are our Lord, still lingers, not in our conscious memory, but buried deep in our cells. We have forgotten, but our bodies remember. A neuroscientist once told her, there is a part of the brain that lights up only when the name of God is invoked in truth. That region doesn't respond to music, or pleasure, or pain. Only one thing activates a whisper of faith, calling out to Allah. So perhaps all these strange patterns, these molecular echoes, these silent neural flashes are not accidents. Maybe they were always a message. You will find me, because I am written in your blood. And from this sacred realization, the next chapter begins. Chapter 6. There's science in the sound of tears. When was the last time you cried? Do you remember? Did you know? Even your tears have a language. And even if you don't realize it, your weeping becomes a coded message, reaching Allah. Dr. Samia now begins a new investigation, this time into human tears. Not just the emotion behind them, but the biochemical blueprint of crying itself. She comes across a research paper. Emotionally induced tears contain ACT, prolactin, and leucine and enkephalin chemicals directly tied to emotional processing. But the most unsettling truth was this. Tears store unspoken grief. They carry not just salt and water, but memory. Samia then designs a massive microscopic experiment. She collects tear samples from 100 different people, each shed at a different moment. One cried after losing their mother. Another cried during sujood in salah. Someone else wept alone in the dark. And one simply whispered in prostration, I'm tired, Ya Rab. And the tears, they were all different. Yes, their molecular structures were distinct. But one kind stood out above the rest. The most crystallized, symmetrical structure was always found in the tears shed, in sujood. So could it be that tears shed before Allah travel upward in a language the sky understands? She then reflects on a verse, Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 92. Their eyes overflowed with tears, out of sorrow that they could not contribute in charity. Here, tears are not just pain. They are a form of worship. In a hadith, it is said, 2 eyes will never be touched by the fire of hell. One that wept out of fear of Allah, and one that kept vigil during jihad. Tirmidhi. So maybe, our tears are a silent prayer, a hidden sujood invisible to the world, but visible under a microscope. Though Earth doesn't understand it, he does. Dr. Samia sits alone and cries. No sound, no sadness, just because she now knows. My tears are a kind of DNA codon only my Rab can read. Chapter 7. Time loop, scene before the end. Imagine you are asleep, and suddenly, in your sleep, you hear the sound of the Day of Judgment. The sound is so intense, so strange that you know it is not of this world. The question is, when you wake up, is it waking from sleep or waking after death? Dr. Samia now researches time theory, especially about time loop and simultaneity, meaning time might not be a straight line, but circular. A physicist at NASA once said, time might not pass. Everything is happening simultaneously. We're just experiencing it sequentially. What does that mean? the very moment you are sitting now. Somewhere, your death might be happening. And somewhere else, your birth. Einstein once said about a friend's death, "For us believing physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubborn illusion." This is not a story. It's a true fact written in his letter. But the question arises, if everything is happening simultaneously, then is the day of judgment also happening now? We just can't hear it. Samia then reads Surah Al-Ma'arij verse 4. The angels and the spirit ascend to him in a day, the extent of which is 50,000 years. But whose 50,000 years is that? Earth's? Or some other timescale? She also reads Surah Al-Hajj, verse 47. And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count. Here it's clear time is relative. What we call a moment, elsewhere might be eternity. So could the sound of the Day of Judgment, called Surah in Hadith, that will be blown through the trumpet, already be sounding now. We just can't hear it. A neuro-audio researcher says the human brain cannot hear sounds below 20 Hz. This range is called infrasound. In many places around the world, especially mountainous or desert areas, a type of invisible terrifying sound is heard, which no one can explain. Could that sound, that unspoken vibration, be the echo of the Day of Judgment? Have you ever suddenly woken up in the middle of the night? Felt like something was calling you? Without any reason, your heart suddenly unsettled. Could it be that at that moment, you heard that sound, which hasn't sounded yet, but somehow is still going on? Samia begins a terrifying experiment. She collects invisible sounds from various parts of the world, analyzing them on high-frequency and infrasound scales. Her report shows many of the sound's wave patterns match the opposite rhythm of a heartbeat, meaning a call seems to flow against the artery's current. She is shocked. Just because we don't hear doesn't mean nothing is sounding. We're just not listening with the ears of the sky. She recalls the verse, Surah Al-Kahf, verse 49. You will see the criminals fearful of what they have done, and it will come to them, oh, woe to us! What a book is this! It leaves out nothing small or great, but takes account of it all. So could it be every word of ours, every vibration, every moment is already recorded? And on one side of this time loop, we are only seeing shadows of our own future. Samia sits still, her heart trembling with a question. Am I still alive now? Or am I just watching my past after death? Chapter 8. Mirror Code, the Secret of Reflection. You look into the mirror, but does it merely return your reflection? Or is the one you see not really you but your unknown self? Dr. Samia stood silently in her lab, in front of a strange kind of quantum mirror. This wasn't an ordinary glass. It was built to capture photonic echoes, the aftershocks of light. And yet, what troubled her wasn't the technology. It was the eyes in the reflection. They didn't feel hers. Did you know a mirror actually reflects you? 0.0000001 seconds later. Technically speaking, when you look at your reflection, you're looking into your own past. So if you could just step back 1 second, would you see the origin of everything? Samia remembered an old hadith. When one looks into the mirror, let them say, "O Allah, just as you have beautified my outer form, beautify my character as well." It wasn't just a supplication for the body. It was a prayer for the soul's reflection. But can the soul be reflected? Samia conducted an eerie experiment. She placed a photograph of a deceased person in front of the mirror. Under normal infrared scans, nothing. But under mirror echo technology, an abnormal vibration appeared. Its frequency? 7.83 Hz. Also known as the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural frequency. And strangely, it matched the brain's alpha and theta waves, those tied to calmness, dreams, and spiritual states. So then, on the other side of the mirror, is the rhythm of our consciousness hiding. Samia suddenly whispered to the reflection, "Who are you? Not me, but the one looking at me. Are you the part of me I've slowly forgotten?" And then she saw something impossible. Her own reflection. But in the corner of its eye, a faint line of a tear. A tear that was not in her actual eye. So, could it be the mirror doesn't just reflect? It records. It remembers. A lost window where our secret selves still wait. Did you know if you stare into a mirror for 10 minutes, your face begins to distort? This is called the strange face illusion. So maybe the mirror is not lying. Maybe it slowly strips away the mask until you face your real self. Samia remained seated, motionless before the mirror. Even her own eyes felt foreign. She whispered, "Perhaps we look into the mirror, but the mirror it looks right back into us." Chapter 9. The frequency of forgiveness. Imagine you forgive someone. Not just a word, but a feeling. And yet, science says, in that moment of forgiveness, your heart's vibration actually changes. So is forgiveness merely a virtue or a form of cosmic physics? Dr. Samia now began researching the frequencies of human emotion. Her report stated, each human emotion carries a measurable electromagnetic frequency. Hate vibrates at 150 Hz. Fear at 100 Hz. But forgiveness emits a wave near 528 Hz, the same frequency used in DNA healing. Subhanallah. Even Western biologists call it the miracle tone. But how is this possible? Samia then read Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 40. And whoever forgives and makes reconciliation, their reward is with Allah. Could that reward exist? Not only in the hereafter, but also in your DNA? She found a case study. 2 brothers. One refused to forgive. His heart rate, variability dropped abnormally. The other forgave. And his heart's coherence doubled. So perhaps forgiveness isn't just inner peace. It's a universal signal, a cosmic pulse that travels skyward. If you forgive deeply, from the soul can that vibration touch the heavens. Samia sat in her lab and wrote, forgiveness is not weakness. It is science, a waveform of mercy that aligns your soul with the frequency of the divine. Allah tells us, if you forgive, I too will forgive you. Surah At-Tagabun, Ayah 14. So are we through our vibrations, receiving an answer from the sky? Samia's research isn't finished, but her heart has changed. Because now she knows every word, every act of forgiveness is not invisible. Everything is going somewhere, and nothing is ever lost. even your silent forgiveness. Chapter 10. The Book of Breath. You take 23,040 breaths every single day. But do you know each breath creates a sound? And that sound, perhaps somewhere in a celestial recorder, is being written down forever. Samia breathes deeply and sits silently. She knows sound is a wave. Sound means vibration, and vibration means energy, which never truly disappears. But her question is, if every breath I take is a unique, invisible sound, then where do those sounds go? She then reads Surah Al-Kahf, Ayah 49. And the record of deeds will be placed, open, and you will see the criminals fearful of that within it. And they will say, Oh, woe to us! What is this book that leaves nothing small or great, except that it has enumerated it? Could it be even our breaths are being recorded? Science says human respiratory sounds are so subtle, they can be captured by ultrasonic memory systems. Even NASA's probes can record micro-breath vibrations in the vacuum of space. Another study shows heart rate and breathing rhythm, both synchronize with emotion. So when you cry, your breath pattern changes, and it is recorded, like a waveform. But who is this recorder? If every breath is a linear my writing, my own fate, Samia whispers softly, maybe the prayers we do not utter aloud are carried by our breaths to the skies above. She reads again, Surah Kahf, Ayah 16. And I have created man, and I know what his soul whispers to him, and I am closer to him than his jugular vein. Could it be breath is that silent cry, which you do not speak aloud, but it reaches the exact address? Slowly, Samia understands, each breath you take is a witness. A book is being written, one you have never read, but on the day of the judgment, you will hear it with your own voice. The Book of Breath isn't written in ink. It's written in waves, and one day, the sound of those waves will raise a voice either for you or against you. Chapter 11. The DNA, whisper, the language written in silent blood. Inside your body are 3.2 billion letters. This is no poem. This is your DNA. But you don't know. Those letters too form a language created by the pen of the creator. Samia now begins work in genetic linguistics. She discovers the 4 bases of DNA. A, T, G, care, like a code known as the language of God. A Muslim geneticist once said, the sequencing of human DNA seems like someone's writing, a sacred language, a long, ancient, intelligent whisper flowing through your blood. Samia then finds the Quran's first letters, Alif, Lam, Mim, and the DNA's first coding sequences. First 3 bases, ATG, both signify a beginning. And ATG, this code, starts the first protein sequence in the human body. It's a kind of genetic bismillah. But it's not just rhythm. Harvard and MIT research states DNA behaves not only like code, but like music. Every genetic sequence has a resonant frequency, a unique sound. And you live to that tune. The way you feel, your sorrow, hope, hesitation will silently sing a language flowing through your blood. And Samia knows this language was created by him who said be. And it was. DNA isn't random. It's revelation. Written inside your body, it's the story of a being, without words, but with profound meaning. She reads again. Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 6. He shapes you in the womb as he wills. Could it be each DNA sequence written in the womb is a divine blueprint? Your DNA is your silent witness, a witness that never forgets, and one day will say who you truly were. Chapter 12. Timefold. Time inside time. You think time flows forward, but what if I told you? Time is actually a folded paper, and hidden in those folds is your lost future. One day at a conference, Samia hears a physicist say, time doesn't flow. We flow through time. Those words stick in her mind. She begins researching time dilation and closed time-like curves. Stephen Hawking, Kip Thorneal said, there might be loops in time. Time may twist, bend, even fold. But Samia discovers another layer not just of physics, but the existence of time inside the soul. She reads Surah Ar-Rum, Ayah 54. It is Allah who created you from weakness, then gave you strength. Then after that weakness and strength, He will cause your death. Is this about age or a hint of life repeating? The same mistakes again and again, returning to the same nightmares. Are this the riddles of time? You may think time has passed, but time lives inside consciousness, returning repeatedly in different forms. Samia realizes time is not just trapped inside clocks. Memory and prophecy, these are the two edges of time. And the human heart is like a folding point of time, where past and future merge into one. She wonders, could prayer be a line drawn inside the future? When you pray, you are not just hoping, you might be altering the course of time itself. Now the question is your prayer already written? Or is it to a folded future? Time is not just a river, it is a mirror. And one day, it might reflect who you could have been in a world that almost existed. Chapter 13. The Silent Recorder. When you cry alone, no one hears, but something is writing down all your sounds. Even those sounds you only whisper in your mind. Samia feels heavy inside. She tells no one, only silently prays. Oh, Allah, I am tired. I am broken. But that very night in a nightmare, an unfamiliar voice says, I know. When you cry, your silence is sound to me. She wakes up frightened. Her mind recalls Surah Kaf, Ayah 18. No word does he utter, but there is a watcher ready to record it. But what words? Only spoken sentences? Or the voice inside the heart? Samia searches neuroscience. Electroencephalography, EEG, shows our inner thoughts, are actually precise brainwaves. Those waves can be detected. Could angels, then, be recording these mind waves? Is there a recorder? A cosmic frequency decoder? She thinks so even when I say nothing. Am I still being recorded? When you stay silent, a voice inside you still speaks. And that voice, somewhere, somehow, is preserved. Samia realizes, one day we will be astonished, not by the words we spoke, but by the words we did not say, which will bring us judgment. But the most astonishing fact she finds in a study, the human body constantly emits micro-vibrations, even in complete silence. These silent vibrations create a unique waveprint, a spiritual fingerprint of each person. So maybe you yourself are quietly singing the song of your soul. The silent recorder never sleeps, never skips, and on the day of truth, it will play everything you thought no one knew. Chapter 14. Echoes of Light. Light does not just show the way light remembers. Every beam of light is a file of memories that one day will return either against you or for you. Samia reads Surah Nur, Ayah 35. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. His light is like a niche in which is a lamp. The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it were a shining star. She wonders, could light be the force that preserves our deeds, feelings and thoughts? NASA research shows when light touches a surface, it reflects from it. That is, it touches and comes back. If that light then carries quantum encoding, could each of our actions be imprinted in light? Even sunlight, which constantly touches us, could it be a silent camera? There was a time when we thought people would bear witness, but the Quran said, your own limbs will testify. And now, science says, light will testify. Samia reads Surah Fussilat, Ayah 20, 21. The day when their tongues, their hands and their feet will bear witness against them as to what they used to do. Could it be that these hands and eyes have captured everything framed in light? When you stole, it was not only your hand. The light reflected on the wall also knew. And that light, as echoes of memory, will one day play back before you. Samia thinks, could Judgment Day be a great projector day, where all light returns the scenes it saw? And then you will say, how did you know my secret deeds? And the answer will come, we were light. And we never forget. Chapter 15. The Sound of Silence. You think silence means nothing, but on the day of judgment, that very silence will roar. Because within silence hides your truest sound. One day, Samia sits alone, surrounded by stillness. Suddenly she senses a subtle vibration, an invisible resonance. No, not something heard by ears, but echoing deep inside the mind. She reads Surah Al-Infatar, Ayah 10-12. Over you are appointed guardians, honored scribes who know what you do. But where do they sit? Do they write on paper? Or listen within your silence? Research reveals from the human heart constantly emerges a low-frequency electromagnetic sound inaudible to ears, yet capturable by instruments. Could that silent roar of the heart be recorded? When you say, I am fine, but inside you break apart, that sound born in your soul will prove your pain on the day of judgment. And no one will be able to say, I said nothing. Because that silence was the greatest witness. You think, no one knows my story. But from that very moment, in every breath you took, a cosmic story began whose name is the sound of silence. And one day, that story will unfold and be read aloud, right before your eyes. This was Tales by Eve, where science blends with mystery, and every frozen moment whispers a profound truth. I am Eve, and you have witnessed the sound of silence, a story you never truly heard, but your soul always knew to be true. Now, the only question remains, can you hear your own silence?